أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد. يا إخواني وأخواتي, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of Allah be upon you, inshallah. So, just have peace and blessing be upon you, inshallah. Just check something. So, my device can charge and record at the same time. So from the article of Siti Muliana and Muhammad Nasruddin, we reach the second part of this article, second big part, which is entitled "The Spread of Religious Substance is Carried Out Through Popular Culture." So, if we look at the spread of Islam in other parts of the world, its spread and expansion is carried out by means of violence, through war, and the conquest of controlled areas. So this is the case of most of the Islamic conquests, like in Christian, even in Christian tradition, we have some conqueror, which were called conquistador in the history of America, history also of the islands of the Philippine archipelago and stuff like that. Religion came also, and most of the time, with the sword, and it was not exactly the case in the encounter of Islam with the Indonesian people. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, it's interesting. It is from a woman from Indonesia, which have a particular interest in history, because her articles are sourced and stuff like that. So there is mention of the history. So obviously she knows history, of course. الله معك. اللهم آمين. التمس الدعاء. So, this is contrary to the method of expansion and spread of Islamic da'wah carried out by Wali Songo through peaceful means without the slightest violence. So, you can say most of the time the spread of Islam was violent, but there is also some related and documented traces of this expansion which is made peacefully, and it was the case and the whole case in the Indonesian region. Even I have some reserve on that, because there is also the build of some new kingdom, even in Indonesia, which spread out Islam with also some warfare, but this is a second stage. At first, with the initial spread of the Wali Songo, it was made peacefully. So there is maybe a little bit of romance in this explanation, but most of the time it was made peacefully, because the way the people are in Islanders in generals tend to not accept violent encounter. So a day or another, they will regroup and they will fight against newcomers, even if they accept the faith. It is the case of the Filipino, for example. One of them is through popular culture by means of acculturation and assimilation. So in fact, this is a strategy of redirecting the indigenous culture by repolarizing it with the value of Islam. So it is a kind of actualization. So update. For example, Wali Songo, who shows the level of hard work in the field of Wayang. Sunan Kalijaga is creative by making equipment such as screens. So maybe screens for puppet exhibition. I don't know exactly what is Wayang, Wayang. The sail symbolically symbolize the sky and the universe. So سماء باللغة العربية السماء. It is a very important concept. السماوات والأرض. So even in the Quranic transmission, which is transmission for mankind and jinns, we have this kind of elements, and it is also found in the Zen culture, even Japanese culture, when you have four elements, the four عناصر المركبة, so the four combined elements which are not pure in essence but are combined element. So this is air, هواء, it is water, ماء, it is also تراب, earth, and also fire, نار, which can also can be characterized also with har in Arabic, which means hot. It is a hot element, so it's fire, flame, stuff like that. And you have also a fifth element, which is most of the time ignored by the people, which tend to there is an all-encompassing element which is called void in some Zen tradition, and it is also called sama. And it is in fact the space where this composite element evolve. So there is a notion of four combined element and an encompassing element, which is sama, which means sky, which means also translated also I think in Japanese, maybe I make mistake, but like KU, which is the void, which is the space, and which is also called sama, which is where in obscurity the light is transmitted by a higher type of intelligence, which is in fact the God knowledge. And this is by this way that the humanity reconnect with his creator. So it is interesting. So the sail symbolically symbolize the sky and the universe. So this is this notion of sama in Islamic and Arabic terminology. And debog, banana stem, debog in Bahasa language, which is banana stem, which symbolize the earth, so turab. And belongkong, big lamp, which symbolize the sun. So here the sun can be related to nur, anwar, and maybe anwar ilmiya, which is the lights of knowledge. And you have even Quranic verses, nur ala nur, and stuff like that, which sometimes is and Shams also, which is a symbol of Prophet Muhammad, sometimes also light, symbol of God, propagation of knowledge and stuff like that. So even you can see this symbolism. While the puppeter, so this is a puppet, while because I discovered the text in the same time of view, while the puppeteer, that is a symbol of God's way of governing his creators. So it's like the big an image of the hidden big architect of the universe, which have uh, full rule over his creation, the creator. That here is compared by a metaphor to a master puppeteer, master carpenter. So interesting, the symbolic. From the stories compiled, Sunan Kalijaga also gave the character the shape of the main character of the Wayang, so as not to violate Islamic regulation. So even with something what can be taken lightly, like mastering puppeteer as a job for maybe entertainment of the masses, he respected some Islamic regulation in his way of doing so. The puppet in and during the Wali Songo proselytizing process. So it was also like it was in Iran with Taziyeh, which is some reenactment of the history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa and his family and stuff like that. There is also a kind of fuse for proselytism purpose, but in a cultural way. It is important. It exists all over the place in other religion, maybe Islam, Christianity, also Buddhism and stuff like that. So there is a link with cultural and also culture made to serve God's plan or the God that created the universe in the cosmology of the Muslim. So it is an interesting concept. So there is no notion here of only mere amusement and entertainment disconnected from the true reality of the relation between God and the humans and his creator in general. So they merged both. And many viewers, maybe from Sunni faith, will jump and will say that the crafting of puppets, it's something forbidden and stuff like that. But the reality is that even Aisha, in their own creed, was known to play with dolls that he made, with other arguments that she made to oppose certain way regarding the Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, in propagating false accusation. So they took the false accusation, made it rules for their marriage with infants, and will deny the part which is an implicit authorization of the fact of having dolls or puppets for entertainment purpose. This is the difference between truth and falsehood. And so, the puppet enduring the Wali Songo proselytizing process, such as slametans and offering, were not removed and banned, but instead were used as much as possible as a supporting tools in spreading Islam. So, as a tool of charity in a certain sense. So, this is extract from Mengis Lamkan Tanah Jawa Telah Atas Metode Dakwa Wali Songo. So Dakwa is obviously da'wah, in fact. So there is some um, irregular transformation of the Arabic words in the Malay Indo speaking word, but we can easily find the link. For example, the writer of this article, of this part of this book from Bandung, Mizan publisher, is Widji Saxono. Widji is derived from Wajdi, which is linked to the lexical area of existence, wujud, wajd, wujdan. So it is easy for an Arabic speaker to find the relation. So in Wali Songo's da'wah, especially, so da'wah, propagation, Islamic propagation, especially in the fields of art and culture as well as entertainment, Wali Songo explored and used it creatively and as much as possible to become a wasila, a connection, to Islamize the land of Java, which at the time still adhered to the Hindu-Buddhist and animist views. The strategy adopted by Wali Songo is popularly attracts attention and is easily accepted by the audience because it is not too surprising. So there is no actual shock of culture or clash of cultures. And so it is also in the article of Widji Saxono in page 61. And the previous occurrence was in page 148 to 149. So, interesting, very interesting part. So we continue. Part 3. The nature of openness, which is a quality that lacks to a lot of people this day. So everyone will jump with a closed system of thinking and don't benefit of with interaction with people of other background, for example. So for those who know me from long time, even as a Shi'i, I've got interaction, I've got ijazat with many representatives of various kind of spirituality and also expression of Islam. So for those who don't know, here, this is me. And I had the honor to be received and respected by a Nibadi scholar and owner of a Nibadi. So the third expression of Islam. Also had the opportunity to study the book of Hadith of the Ibadit in Tunisia. It was compiled by an Algerian scholar, Al-Warjalani. And so I had, during my life, encounter, even in the Islamic faith, with Sunnis, with Ibadis also, and also Shi'i of various backgrounds. So me, consider myself a Sunni, but Shi'i in my support of the family of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa ali, and the Imam, 12th Imam of the succession of Muhammad. I'm Ithna Ashari. My methodology is Akhbari, so I've got the old methodology, which is different from the Usuli, which is in fact from inherited from the Shafi'i madhab and interaction with the Sunni. I'm also close to some so-called Sunni, like the school of Zahiriyya with Ibn Hazm, with also Ibn Arabi, for example. But I don't promote that much the ilham, the inspiration part as a source of religion. So for me, the religion is transmitted by its scripturalist approach, and you cannot call yourself a Sunni, for example. Even a Shia is more Sunni than you if the Shia sticks to the riwayat, sticks to the hadith, to the scriptural inheritance of Islam. And I master also Sunni's hadith, Ibadi hadith. I have an ijaza of study of the Ibadi corpus also. And I even found some famous narrators of the Shia, of the first book, Kitab Sulaim bin Qais, in some of the Asanid, so the chains of transmission. So very beneficial study. And so some people will call themselves Sunnis, are not. A Sunni that don't follow the hadith, that only follow the fatwa of some scholar here in here, some corrupted scholar here in here, for me is not a Sunni. Someone who say the Quran suffices from for us in everything and reject the Sunnah, for me is not a Sunni. It's nothing more than a pretender. So that's why sometimes I'm very harsh with this kind of people. Newcomer, you can see Islam like a fruit. A fruit have a nucleus, which is, in fact, its seed, which will serve to in making a new cycle of transmission and life. So it is the most important part. Center. You have also its meat, which will nourish the birds, the human, whatsoever. And you have its exterior, this shell, which here to protect it. And you have also many parasites, such as worms, which will enter the fruit and will not be of any benefit. And the fruit will turn into a non-edible thing when it is infected by parasites. And this is the state of many people in the name of their relation to Islam. They are just mere parasites. They have nothing to do with this fruit. So, the nature of openness. One more thing that shows Wali Songo attitude in preaching is an open attitude. This is shown in people's people lives where Wali Songo adopts the architectural philosophy of the old community into the architecture of the mosque. So they retain the spirit of the people they converted, even in its structural expression in their building, binayat, for al-masajid. The mosque with the three-tiered top is a representation of an egalitarian social order that makes ordinary people no longer feel awkward to join in that place. So there is a short note. As it is known that Hindu society, there are differences in caste or class, which are described in the three-tiered temple architecture. The three castles include Brahman, Kshatriyas, and Sudras. So, Brahman or Brahmin are the highest status in Hinduist religion and tradition. After that, you had Kshatriyas, which are in fact soldiers or the equivalent of knights, which is also something strong in the Islamic heritage. So you have some monks at the top. After that, you have knights. And Sudras, it is more the working, like maneuvering mass, which is, we have its merits, but is more of a labor-related status. So this is the three main status. And after that, you have also the untouchable, which are in fact the lower status. And you have even lower that the untouchable, you have a mix of the highest status woman with, I think, Sudras, which is a working, laboring caste. And so with the highest ranking woman with the lowest ranking man, you have the worst of generation in the understanding of Hindu caste. They are the people which you can accept some bad harm in the society because they go against all odds. They don't respect. The union is almost forbidden, in fact. This is forbidden in the Hindu caste. A woman of higher status mixing with a man of lower status will give a cosmic alien in kind of human being. So, however, the mosque with the roof was not built only for the common people, but for Muslim as a whole, including the nobles or even the king. So, not only for the layman, but also mosque, which frequented by the king and nobles also. In addition, Wali Songo open attitude was also shown when carrying out religious symbol creatively, one of which was by holding commemorative Islamic holiday. So if you go in Indonesia, if you go in Malaysia, you will see, for example, many times on printed tissues or paper and stuff like that, big size, remembrance of some Islamic occasions, like Eid al-Fitra, for example. So Eid, Shahr Ramadan, which is the month, holy month of Ramadan, and stuff like that. So they have a high interest in the Islamic cycle and dates, important dates and stuff like that. It is also inherited by the ways they converted in Islam. One such, it is also a thing that you can find in the South Asiatic Eastern world, which they have some celebrating of seasons and stuff like that. So I think they repolarized it into the field of Islam, because in Buddhist country they have the same approach, but with some Buddhist specific festivals related to seasons and stuff like that. So, in addition, Wali Songo Open's attitude was also shown when carrying out religious symbols creatively, one of which was holding commemorative Islamic holidays. One such celebration is Sekaten. Sekaten. So, Sekaten. So maybe Saqat is silence. So maybe it's related to Arabic. Saqatan. Saqtan. In order to commemorate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the birthday, الميلاد النبوي is an important, and it will remain in the heart of the Muslimin, of the Muslims, an important date. This second celebration begins 7 days before the commemoration of the birthday of Prophet Muhammad صلى عليه وآله. So أسبوع قبل, so a week, 7 days before the commemoration of birthday of Prophet Muhammad صلى عليه وآله, on the 12th Rabi'u Awwal, and ends, which is a month of an Arabic month, and ends with the Garabeg ceremony, which is a ceremony culminating in the reading of Sirat al-Nabi, which is the history of Prophet Muhammad in the geographical sense, followed by Southern Alms, namely distributing food gift from the Sultan at the Grand Mosque. So it was how it was implemented. Wiji Saxono, Islamizing the land of Java, page 150. Some of Wali Songo efforts above were later adopted by Gus Dur with a new term, namely the indigenization of Islam. The indigenization of Islam, which was proclaimed by Gus Dur in the 1980s, was an attempt to bridge the gap between religion and culture, which were not mutually exclusive. So in fact, there is bridges between culture and religion. They are closely related, and they are like circles with some interactions in their centers. In this part you get some interaction, and this is how things work. They are related to a degree and another, and Islam replacing some strongholds of cultural development is closely, and is a layer which is closely associated with culture also. It replaces culture at times and it redirect culture at times. It's like a captain on a boat being culture and the captain having a direction. Gosdur also admitted that the idea of indigenizing Islam actually stands and takes the spirit of what Wali Songo taught in his da'wah propagation. In line with that, the indigenization of Islam is an inevitable process when religion meets local culture. Religion, Islam, is believed to originate from the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the contrary, culture is a product of human thought, but maybe it is also a continuation of a tradition since Adam. If you take the Genesis narrative of the creation, so it is also related to that. Adam was sent to this world by God Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Religion is permanent, while culture is changing. It is also true. But the relationship between religion and culture is not easy to break or separate. The two have a complex relationship, and this is the case. So we can see there some part of written by Abdurrahman Wahid, Pribumisasi Islam, dalam buku Islam Nusantara dari Usul Fiqh hingga Paham Kebangsaan. So from City Bandung, Mizan Pustaka 2015, page 33. So more than that, whether Wali Songo or Gusdur, this attitude is in line with and practicing the rule of أصول الفقه المحفزة بقدم الصالح والذو بالجديد الأصلح. Sorry for the lack of presentation because it is written with some Roman character and with also the Indonesian spelling, which replace some usul, which is in fact it's wrote with a sad. It's called here ushul with sh. So it is a little bit complicated for me for read it. So قادم الصالح, it is also written شالح, تنفق صالح, والذو بالجديد الأصلح, which is written أشلح, فقط أصلح. So it is translated here by maintaining good old things and adopting new things that are better. So this is some rule of usul al-fiqh. So sources of jurisprudence. So المحفزة بقدم الصالح. So protecting in fact the ancient good things. وذو بالجديد الأصلح. And taking new things that are better. Yes. So F, conclusion. So it is conclusion. Al-Khatima. Wali Songo's success in his da'wah, so propagation, is due to internal factors, aka emerging from within Wali Songo himself. This is because Wali Songo used method of da'wah that is in line with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is not direct opposition or demolition. This is not the materialistic approach, external approach, which is now predominant because we are in a world of Western materialistic domination. And it is not the Oriental way of doing things. Oriental way is more fluid, is more oriented by the element of water than the element of fire. Western world is linked to the fire. They are at ease with the idea of total destruction for benefits of rebuilding something at their own will and image. The Oriental way is different. It is flowing. Quran, flowing. And the ink is a flow, for example. So it is a very important notion. With fire, you burn the book of Allah. With ink, you make it multiplies by recording it and by producing it evermore. With awraq, which are made sometimes from leather, which is made sometimes warqa from paper, you can preserve. It is here محفز محفزة. بقدم الصالح. So it is an important notion to understand. So this is because Wali Songo uses a method of da'wah that is in line with the Prophet Muhammad, namely wisdom and mawizatul hasana. In addition, the element in Islam itself have many similarities and conformity with the original Indonesian element. So it is in fact din fitriya. It is a natural religion. Islam as a religion is proven to be able to manifest in any culture, including Indonesian culture, and then give birth to many religious expression as pioneered by Wali Songo as the main agent with were in fact mostly Arabs and external, all being external to Indonesian, but merged in a beautiful and productive way. The three efforts made by Wali Songo in his preaching, such as prioritizing religious substance over formality, spreading religious substance trough popular culture, and prioritizing openness to local traditions. It can be concluded that all of them illustrate that Wali Songo places more emphasis on the essence substance dimension than the artificial dimension in religious. So, الباطن على الظاهر. Wali Songo can distinguish the core teaching substance of the cultures that surround them, so that the Nusantara Islamic tradition is formed, which is practiced by the Indonesian Muslim community until now. Now, what is certain is that Wali Songo conveyed Islam that made a real contribution to society rather than Islam, which was accepted formally and also understood formally. So it is a deeper manifestation of Islam. So Sunan Kalijaga, Volume 4, Number 1, March 2021, and end of the article. So it is, the article came to an end. So for the writers Siti Muliana and Muhammad Nasruddin, they used a bibliography, which is here. I present, you can find the old text online. So this is the biography. You can make some screenshot of it if you need to. And there is also this page. So a very serious article sourced, which with some data that are not available for the non-Bahasa speakers like myself. So there is some translations and stuff like that. So very interesting, very useful, and it helps to understand the way and the correct way Indonesian Islam was shaped from some very interesting individuals at many stage of its cultural development, adaptation, and now inherent substance. اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد. التمس الدعاء. الله معكم. إلى اللقاء. مع السلامة.